Bonjour à tous. Aujourd'hui, je suis ravie d'être avec Nilakshi Sengupta, qui est cinéaste, productrice et écrivain. Elle est la seule cinéaste à faire partie de Alliance of Women Directors of the USA. Donc voilà, c'est un groupe de cinéastes. Elle a travaillé pendant 20 ans sur à peu près 300 films, des films de publicité, des films pour les entreprises, donc très, très variés, hein, des secteurs extrêmement variés sur lesquels elle a travaillé. Elle a fait beaucoup de choses, donc c'est un profil extrêmement intéressant. Elle a travaillé dans la communication, relations publiques, elle a une société également. Elle écrit des livres pour les enfants, des histoires qu'elle a publiées dans plusieurs langues, hein, d'ailleurs. Et on vous en parlera peut-être l'année prochaine, donc c'est intéressant pour nous, hein, pour cet aspect de son travail. Donc, elle a également collaboré avec la BBC India, avec CNN et avec le Channel 5 Australia, Z, Times Network. Donc, elle a fait beaucoup de choses très, très différentes. Et également, elle a été programmatrice pour le festival de Newcastle, voilà, au Royaume-Uni. Et puis, sur le jury de Boston Science Fiction Film Festival et puis les Bengali Filmfare Awards, hein. Donc, elle a fait des choses extrêmement variées. Elle est régulièrement à Cannes pour le Midcom, Midem, etc. Forcément, puisqu'elle a travaillé dans les films publicitaires. Donc, voilà, c'est un profil qui est très, très intéressant. Elle est en train de préparer son long métrage. Donc, on va lui parler de ce court métrage qu'elle est en train de nous donner pour le Grenoble Indian Film Festival 2022. So I'm switching to English. I'm just explaining a little bit of what you've done. Very varied. With being a director, producer, writer, so many things, so many possibilities and so many talents, which is like in filmmaking with corporate films, with ad films. I said that you were a regular participant with MIPCOM, MIDEM, all these things in Cannes. Books with, children's books, these films that you're preparing your next feature film. You've worked with, TV channels, international TV channels, etc. So where does this hunger come from to do so many different things?
I get bored very easily.
Do you?
I get very, very easily. So I need to do many, many things to be alive. That's it. That's all. I just need to be alive creatively, not just survival. And I'm very, very curious. I'm extremely curious when it comes to stories, history, arts. So when I go searching for one, I find something else as well.
It's good. So tell me how you came into filmmaking. How did this happen?
This happened many years ago, almost 30 years back. So when I was growing up in school, I was a rebel without a cause. So I needed to do things which others wouldn't do. I liked to do things which were not supposed to be done at that point in time by girls. So I was rebellious. And I liked literature. I liked music. I trained in Indian classical music for almost 20 years. I learned voice modulation, and school helped us learn paintings. They helped us read as much as we could. The library was accessible all the time, and I tried to pick up the fattest book there. So because it would get over in like 2 days. I couldn't return it to the library before 7 days. So the fattest book, the more pages, the happier I am. So all that happened, and I used to listen to stories. That time there were radio plays. It all grew inside, I guess. And when I was finishing my school, I was getting into college, I wanted to do something where I could combine everything, whether it was the arts, the literature, the music, the storytelling, the fables, everything. And at that time, there was only national television. We didn't have the cable networks or any other channel. So I trotted across and I said, I wanted to do something. They said, what can you do? Prove yourself. Write a script and bring. I didn't know what a script was. So I just wrote a story and gave it to them. And lo and behold, they allowed me to be part of them. They said, we don't you wouldn't get paid, but you can come and join us and work with us as a rookie. Good enough. And that's how it all started.
Super, super, super. So these ad films, what's the scene in India with ad films? What has it been? Because tell us, we're not too sure about how this is all developed, and a lot of ad filmmakers coming into films, Bollywood, and also whether it's art films, etc. This is something that they started as a career and then they've moved on to different things. And I know Ram Madhwani, who's been in ad films and then moved it very, very quickly into feature films. So did it come like that for you?
So in India, there are very specific verticals, if you may call it, for films. So the three broad categories would be feature films, would be television, and advertising. Documentaries come somewhere slowly creeping in. It's somewhere between television and advertising. It is the most ignored cousin it used to be. But the strong three networks or three different verticals of work are these three. Television is very, very strong in India. It reaches out to a whole details of many languages, some 23 to 24 languages, plus they have their dialects. India is a plethora of languages and colors and food habits, and everything everywhere stories are told. So television is a 24-hour area. Within television, there is storytelling, which is fiction. There is reality shows, which is non-fiction. And then there is news, which is also fiction now. So all combined together. Then there is the feature films, which are the long format features. And on the side of it is the advertising films. All the money that comes into both the television as well as feature films trickles in from the advertising. Advertising is branded content, which puts those brands into the television networks, and the money flows and it moves into others. But quality-wise, production quality-wise, huge difference between advertising and television. The lightings are different. It's flat. It's a set ready. You keep going back and forth. There's no suspense, no drama. It's a story which goes on. It's story based, right? And ad films are, everybody's trying to sell a product. So the product needs to be interesting. So the maximum amount of money that is spent in advertising in maybe a 40-seconder would be higher than one spent on a half-an-hour show on television. Yeah.
Wow.
And as a result, the technicians are better qualified, better equipment. So if you really wanted to make a
for the ad film, for the ad film,
yes.
Ah,
yes.
right.
The more the money, the better you have everything.
Right.
You can invest more. So if you want to be a feature film, as I teach my students, I keep telling them, get into advertising. Because you can know there, you can play with colors, you can play with light and shade. You can get the best of equipment. You would be exposed to the best of technicians, writers, directors. Right. And you build up a contact point of the advertisers who are the branded content guys. Right. So it helps. But coming from television to feature films is kind of not so exciting, because production quality-wise, it's much lower in production. So the moment a television director directs a feature film, it shows in the kind of shots are taken. Very different kinds. They play around with mid shots and maybe close-ups. Not so much of hardly any wide shots, hardly any really long format, hardly any macro, very, very tiny close-ups. That's not seen in television. That's seen in advertising. And that, if you are working and you're moving forward into feature, that reflects easier. And you grow that sensibility. You can't grow that sensibility in television yet. Not yet. And when we were growing up, it was even less. I should mention here that national television had some fantastic storytelling, brilliant production values. But as we got into the television in between, it turned into a factory of producing stories, continuous stories, which was targeted towards women watching them in the afternoon before their siesta and lunch.
Right.
And a repeat of that in the evening. Sports were for the men in the house. Children had very little of children content, but maximum amount was targeted towards the women who did not work or worked in shifts. So that became the huge big area of television in India. But if you want to get into feature films, again, when I started, there were very, very few women. Women were either actors or the sidekicks of the producer. So there were no technicians, and I did not want to be either an actor or a sidekick. So for me, I went into advertising, where I could learn. So yeah, because, and there were not too many film schools either at that point.
Right. Because you're also a teacher. You're also a teacher. Yes. Tell us where you teach.
I have been teaching from 99. There are. I started off with St. Xavier's College, Xavier's Institute of Communications, and there have been many others. MET College, which is the Mumbai Education Trust. I've been teaching with Don Bosco. In Calcutta, I've been teaching with the Vishwa Bharati, the Rabindranath Tagore College. I'm really enjoying myself with Whistling Woods in Mumbai now. The subjects I teach are advertising, ad filmmaking, of course, but I also teach sports production, which is very different from what I do otherwise, because sports is fun. It's a lot of fun. And production of sports is not really taught by too many in India. Sports management is taught, how to manage the entire team, how to manage people, how to get in ads. But how do you run a show for 3 months or 4 months at a stretch with when you need some 40 cameras at the same time, has to move to 4 locations. So all those are not taught. So that production is great fun. The permutation combinations of how you actually send your team to one location and get the other one to, it's fun. I enjoy it. It's a lot of thinking.
How do the students react? They're studying filmmaking. They're learning different, sorts of things, very varied. And then they come to these ad films, and what's their reaction? That is it what the fun class for them? Is it the
my classes are mostly practical classes.
Okay.
So it's in production, you don't really get books to read, unfortunately. You need to do. So a lot of it is group work, getting into the field. Some of the
brainstorming for ideas, things,
lots. I send them out to go and sit in the station and watch people and figure out and imagine what a person's life story could be without talking to him. So those are fun. And then I tell them to take photographs and describe the backstory. If somebody is in a bus looking out of the window, an elderly lady, where is she going? What is she doing? Is she happy? Is she sad? What expressions? Can we read her expressions? So these become an active involvement of the students. And when the moment it comes to doing calculations and budgets, they hate it. but that needs to be done. That's
right.
Without commerce, you can't have arts. It's
Right.
very, it's impossible.
Right.
You need to learn that earlier in life. The earlier, the better. So you get then clearer picture of, and not really much of a situation which is in your dreams only.
Right. I'm asking you these questions because all this is bringing us to the film. The film is made by you who's had all this experience, big experience with these ad films, with corporate films. So you're coming from a very specific background, and you've come to filmmaking, to these films, shorts, and your feature that you're going to be doing. So your stories are also full of what you've experienced and what you've done and what you've made, and your craft, your style, your craft. So how did you come to this film, this short film?
This particular one, my sister, who is with the American University of Afghanistan, who is in exile now, the university is in exile, she writes short stories.
Right.
That's her, again, out non-work, not academician. As an academician, she has written some 30, 40 odd books. But her stress reliever is her storytelling. So I've been reading her books when she writes them, and I found this particular story very interesting. And it's about two men and their stories. It's like a cross section of a moment in her story. So we looked here. We wanted to have the mountains. We wanted to have a waterfall. We wanted to have a bridge over the river, and we looked high and low where we could find everything. And let's find the people. Let's get the stories. This short film was the intention behind telling the story was to tell the story on one side. And I wanted to check if I was capable of doing anything outside a 1 minute zone. So it was more to prove my capacity to myself that this was done. And
then this is a story that you haven't written, because this is your sister's story. Yeah. So then, because everything else, all your previous work is I shoot, but these are my stories. And here you're doing someone else's story. Is it the first time?
That's the first time I worked with someone else's story, yes.
Well, how did she react to this?
She was my biggest critic.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah,
especially when you're the family.
Yeah. So she liked certain places. She said, no, this could have been better. That could have been nicer. You did add something which I had not written, but I had to explain that although you had 2 characters, I needed another bunch of 6, 7 characters to make it more 3D. Otherwise, it will be a 2D. Written matter is a 2D.
Right.
2-dimensional. Although the descriptions are there, but what a person thinks, we have to put it into visual. It's easier to write that Sonia is thinking of making a chicken biryani. But until unless I show how you're cooking, that's a thought in the character's mind, and it is not seen by the audience. So I had to add on a lot more. You'd be surprised to know this whole film has been shot in just 3 days.
Wow.
And our team, we had a team of just 5 people who shot that. So there were a drone operator, there was a cameraman, there were 2 of my assistants, and me, that's it. And as there were no women, so there were no major makeup either. We shot in the same place where we stayed. It is the same hotel. We had the cars from the hotel, and we traveled around. All the people that you see, other than these 2 characters, are locals. They're not actors. The guy in the restaurant is my first assistant. He's my AD, first AD. So he also is from the hills. So we did not have the budgets to get a third actor. And he wanted to act. So
your actors were really good, huh? Really,
They're
really
lovely.
good. I
They're
mean,
lovely.
there was what I felt is there was not one moment where, uh, I mean, they've got real presence. I mean,
They're
they're
good
they're
actors.
they're
They're very good
they're
actors.
really good. They're
They
really
had
good.
many, many questions before we got into shooting. I had to drag them apart so that they don't influence each other, because one talks more and the other does not. So I had to brief them separately. I did not do a table read. I sat with them and did the reading of the other characters myself. I wanted to keep them away from each other as much as possible till such time when they are filming, so that
Right,
the surprise element is there. Too much of
right,
familiarity is not
right, right. So yeah, I mean, all this needs to be studied and
there.
carefully
Absolutely.
managed, and
Yeah.
yeah. So that was clever. Now I'm speaking about this, and advertising looks like simple and easy and fun. And but here in this short film, it's quite a deep, serious subject. There's serious things that you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's us in our daily lives. There's this, we're in touch with ourselves, the deepest selves of who we are. And you coming with these very deep, serious subjects. So obviously your sisters put this in her short story, in a story.
No,
No. Ah,
no.
okay.
Her
You brought
story
this.
was, yes, that's a new element I added in. Her story was
Okay.
about one man meeting another, they having food together and getting to know that that man had died, actually. It's a ghost
Hmm.
story.
Hmm.
The angle of the brother, I have added in.
Okay.
So
Right.
the ghost is actually the ghost of a brother who had actually
Hmm.
died. So
Hmm.
this little child who dies,
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, and the elder brother could not keep his promises of taking him to show the mountains, has
Hmm.
already been his guilt, that he
Hmm.
had made promises, but the brother had died. So he keeps saying that, I'm sorry, I could not bring you to the mountains.
Hmm.
And there he meets a man who has been stuck in the mountains
Hmm.
always.
Hmm.
He is also a dead man
Hmm.
who keeps meeting him. He wears the same clothes. No one else can see him. And we just see one person talking on his own, with others tell him, we thought that you were talking on your phone. We didn't
Hmm.
realize you were talking to somebody. And we don't see anyone else. Only he sees him. And later it's revealed that it's that little brother of his who
Hmm.
loved the mountains so much that he lived there in the mountains and he died in the mountains again. So
Hmm.
the same soul which had gone in the first part of as a child in the brother's life came back again to tell the brother that you are forgiven.
Hmm.
Although not again as a live human person anymore, but he had to, the moment he saw his brother suffering so much because he could not keep his promises, he comes to him to tell him basically, uh, look, it's fine. You could
Hmm.
not, it's not your fault.
Hmm.
And then at the end, the brother realizes that, the elder brother, he realizes that he has lost his brother once again. And
Hmm.
that's his cry for him to come back in
Right.
whatever form it may be. That's how
Right.
that cry is last.
So the element of death, the theme of death.
Fascinating.
Okay.
Fascinating.
And right, right. So this is when you add this in the story that your sister gives you, and you're making it, really profound, and having all this reflection and thinking, and because we're all going to be relating with this,
Six
because
foot
we're all
under.
confronted with death in our families, in our lives, in our so that element. But there's something magistous and uh you know spiritual about the whole thing, with it being in the mountains, and with this this
Sense of
special.
loss. It's a
Yes,
sense of loss.
yes, yes. And at the same time, the mountains, like, they carry us in their arms, like they're huge, and they're like comforting for us.
Yeah.
So I'm saying this, we're not being surrounded by mountains. There's all around. We got a ring, and we're in the middle. So these elements were important for you? Because you would not have shot this in a city, would you?
No,
No.
not at all. You can't get that expanse. You can't get that to actually understand that you're really a speck of a human being, smaller than a speck of dust. Here I must share a very personal experience before I shot this. I have lost my father when I was 6 years old. And 2 years before shooting this film, I had lost my mother. Amongst Hindus, the body is burnt, right? And you take the ashes and take them into the river or to the sea and let the ashes become again with the environment. So when my mother passed, I had her ashes in an urn. But when I went into the sea, I wanted to touch her one more time. So I put my hand and got those ashes, and those ashes were actually sliding out from my hand into the water. It was her skull which had burned and then had become ashes. So at that moment, I realized that life is so futile. All our egos, all our anger, all our hunger, our greed is going to be this. The head that I had held so lovingly, the head that had brought me up, I had rested against that head on her shoulder. That was just ashes which were floating out of my fingers into the sea. So that realization made me think it's just not worth being unhappy or making someone else unhappy. It's just here as to complete a job. That's about it. We are just here passing through, completing something. And when we have completed what we are meant to, we are done. A body the name becomes a body in a second. The moment a person dies in the hospital corridor, people say the body has to be removed. They don't say the name anymore.
True.
So for me also in this story, that character had a name, but he was part of the environment at the end. So he could see when the elder brother was crossing that bridge, if there was a gap, he was telling him, please be careful. Please be careful, there's a gap. If you, because he had had the experience of falling off from that same bridge. He's trying to caution someone else. And he also says that I hang around there to caution others. So to me, that is what we are there for. So I have an experience, and if it's not a good experience, I should be able to tell someone else and caution them. Or if I have a great experience, I should be able to share that with somebody so that the next generation can move in. So that's the reason I love teaching. Give it away. Give it away. Whatever you have, don't hold on, because you can't carry anything ahead. Just share it. Let it get distributed. It doesn't matter if, yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
No, it doesn't matter if you're compensated for it. Yes, we need monies to live. We have our dreams. We need comfort. But it's that 6 feet or 5 feet. That's about it. That's all we are. Nothing more. Nothing more at all. So here today, gone tomorrow.
Well, this is exactly what I felt watching the film, and what made me really want to have it at the festival, because these messages in today's 3 years of COVID, where we've seen that we're nothing, we're really little viruses, and then everybody's lost family, everyone's maybe also going to lose in the coming waves they've announced, for
everybody's
France.
Scared. Yes. Everybody's scared.
And we've learned how fragile everything is, and that we're so stuck with our typical things in life, and worrying about and making so much a deal about something in particular, when actually this is the way we end up, where people have not been allowed to come into hospital rooms to say their last goodbye. And in India, with what happened. So yes, the message, I think your film with its message, it is going to, people can relate with everything that's happened,
resonate, yes.
because the absence and the presence element of having, parents at home, and then not even being able to see your sister, brother, mother, and then you've got something with technology, which is like so wild to think that you've got doctors showing you your last conversation with videos and phones, and what we would have seen in films, which has become reality with COVID. So I mean, nothing surprises us anymore, but we need this reminder, right, about life, because we forget. We go back into our things, and then a film like yours comes, and then we go, oh, let me just not forget, so I think it's precious. I think it's a precious message that a lot of people need to see, and also appreciate each other while we're there, for people to appreciate each other, and maybe tell your brother, your sister, whoever, how much you love them while they're there.
Absolutely. Say it now. Don't
Say
wait.
it now. Yeah. So it's a beautiful little film, and it's a lovely message, and then it made me travel to India in those mountains. That was a good moment. There's also this, that we're missing places that we can't go to. We don't know. Should we travel? Should we take a flight? Flights have become something we're thinking about now. Before we'd never think. Today it's like, wow, there's this, and maybe I can go do that. But now we're thinking before we plan. So there's that element. And has this changed something for you too? Your way of thinking, what we've been through as a filmmaker, what we're going through?
It has made me calmer.
It has.
It has, very much. So when you actually, if you're angst you're carrying inside, and that is actually put into something creative, it's out of your system to a certain point. And then you sit back and say, okay, I need to let go now.
Right.
Let go of any pains that are there. Let go of sufferings that are there. There are so many things. How long do you hold on to elements that really does not help you grow or help you become happier? It has made me a lot calmer. And I try, not always am I successful, try to be compassionate.
Right.
Because everyone is suffering, everyone. There's not one single person who has not suffered in whatever way, whether it's health, whether it's money, with relationships, with work, somewhere or the other, everyone has suffered. So let's be a little compassionate. That's. I mean, I can get angry at a jiffy, but I can also step back and think, just hold on. I don't know what that person is going through at this point in time. Why did that person use a certain voice that he used or she used? If I can't understand, if I can't probe into their lives, let me not take it to heart and make a big deal out of it. Nothing is a big deal. Nothing. Everything gets done.
So there's wisdom here. There's wisdom for people to, just look at these things and say, well, let's, use this. And obviously, coming from India and where you just in 2 minutes, you get off the flight and you learn patience, because here, like, we want something, it's like in 2 minutes, and why isn't it going faster? And then you get into a taxi the moment you arrive at the airport, and then there's no choice. The car's stuck,
Might as well enjoy it.
Might as well enjoy it. Something that we
But
forget.
I've had lovely experience with when I was in Cannes. Both the drivers, they were so lovely. I had a lady who was driving me back to the airport, a French lady, and she's one of the few women taxi drivers in Cannes. And because she realized I was Indian, she started playing Bollywood music, and we were both singing to it as we were coming. It was fun.
Really?
It was great fun. It was lovely.
Wow, that's
So
fun.
people are lovely. Human beings are so lovely. Human beings are
Good, good.
really,
I'm glad
really
you're
lovely.
saying this. I'm glad you're
Yeah.
saying
I mean,
this.
we all have our negatives, we all have our positives, but if we can just ignore the negativity, it's so much easier. Doesn't stop. I mean, smile. I in fact started smiling at strangers. It's quite fun. They're not expecting me to smile at them, and the expressions are gold. Expressions are gold. I remember them. I take snapshots of them in my mind to use them in my films. It's fantastic. Just look at somebody and smile.
Right,
For no
right.
reason. For no
True.
reason. It's so much fun. That's an exercise I really enjoy doing. Thoroughly enjoy. So yeah, life goes on. It's okay.
Yes, it does. It does. One last thing I'm going to ask you is, because you're a teacher and I have you here, I'm fortunate. Okay. I mean, everybody wants these tips and everyone wants to know these things and stuff. What would be your advice to film students who don't know what to get into? You're saying should this be go do, ad films first? Try
Yeah.
your hand at short films.
Yes.
How should they
I wouldn't
proceed?
even, what I'll tell you what I tell my students to do. To get out there and shoot. Make them. Create as much as you can. Nowadays, it's not that difficult. Use your mobile phones, use your laptop, edit, tell stories, doesn't matter if 10 people see it. But the process or the experience of creating that will tell them what they need to learn more. They will know it themselves. The world is vast. Just walk around, go somewhere, sit down under a tree. I saw a beautiful film recently, a trailer of two boys who actually were looking for their story, and that was the film.
Wow.
They were looking for a story, and they were going from one place to the other, talking to people in search of a story. And that itself is a story.
But
So
wonderful. Yes.
But if they want to learn technical things, join a production house, join an ad film company. Why ad films? Because the whole thing is done in 40 seconds, which means you're spending maybe 7 to 10 days on it, but learning so much more than a feature film, which is a 90 minutes to 100 minutes. It takes longer. But if you have trained yourself to understand, okay, I need to do, when I'm dubbing, the lip sync has to be in this manner. So when you are telling somebody to do a language dub, where does the mouth open and close so that it doesn't seem odd?
Right.
How do you know that if you have to shift the audio layer 1 or 2 frames so that you know that it's just right? So these things come through practice, while listening, while studying. The other thing should be, any film anybody sees should be seen thrice at least. First time for the story, second time for the direction, third for the acting and direction, third time for the camera angles, for the colors, for the edit pattern, for the music. So if you see the same thing thrice and then read the screenplay, it's a big learning in itself. Big learning. So that can be done by themselves. It doesn't need to have a teacher.
And just last thing, that you're part of our festival. Thanks, immense thanks. But the same year as you, there's going to be Pratham's film. And Pratham is from Whistling Woods. It's a Whistling Woods film. So you're the teacher. And then I've got Pratham. I'm going to ask him about, I'm going to tell him about, your film being here as well. And tell him to see it beforehand, so that in his interview, I'm going to ask him about your film. Have you seen Pratham's
I should have seen
film?
Help. No, I haven't. I should have seen him films then.
Okay, so I'm going to ask him for permission to show your his film to you.
Yes, please. I'd love to see it.
And then I'd like to have a discussion, maybe after our festival, everybody who participated, so that we exchange all this information with all of you.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
And
Oh,
then for
lovely.
them, because I so often for these short films, see, we've never had really short films in our festival
Yeah.
before COVID. It is with
Mm.
2020 because everyone going online and stuff. We said we panicked and we said we're only showing one film in a hall. We've been limited for 3 years. Even this year, we're going to be
Yeah,
limited in
yeah,
halls because they're
yeah.
announcing the eighth wave. But
Mhm.
we said let's make it more of shorts. And so
Yeah.
we got in a whole lot of short films because we said this, we've given you this access, so that you can really see what's coming out of India. And people have this
Best wishes for
idea
the
of
festival.
what's coming, but they have no idea. They can't imagine, and they're very surprised. They tell me, oh, wouldn't have thought that this is coming from India.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I mean, there's super creative people, and there's people who've got top awards at Cannes Lions and thing
Yeah.
because they're with some ad company in India, and people here
Yeah.
don't have imagine, no
Yeah.
idea. So it's good to see a different type of uh film and know what's going on in Indian things. So
Mhm.
Pratham is going to see your film, then you're going to see his, and then we'll have
Love
a
to.
conversation. But it's
Love
so
to.
nice. It's
Thank you.
we're fortunate that it's all
I'm so
the
glad.
same year. It's
Yeah.
all the same year. And if you see Mr. Guy, give him a
Yeah.
hug from us.
I will do that.
And
Will do that, for
also
sure.
Meghna, give her a hug
Yes,
from
and
us.
Rahul. And
Yes,
Rahul.
Raoul. And tell them that we are super, proud of what they've become and what's going on. And
Amazing.
Mr. Guy always told me, come visit, you must come. And we've
Yeah.
like known each other for so long, 20
Please
years
do.
now.
Please come. Yeah,
Yeah, because
please
it's
come.
it's fascinating, and I'm
Yeah.
telling people that if you want to go and study filmmaking in India or go do an
Yeah.
internship,
Yeah.
there should be things where people
Yeah.
can go see how people working methods, and maybe even partner up with something maybe in France.
Totally.
So
Totally.
it could be interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks a
Thank you
million.
so much. Thank you
I'm
for having me.
we've said a lot of things and we've put a whole lot of spoilers. Now I'm telling people you should not be here if you haven't seen the film. Don't be here. So what I'll do is I
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
have to post this obviously after the film is your film is
Sure.
out.
Sure.
So that nobody goes and watches this
Absolutely.
before.
Absolutely.
But it's gonna surprise people, and I think that it's nice that we have so much variety in what we're
And
showing.
and which I forgot to mention, there's a lot of VFX that I've done. A lot of the whole place is filled with buildings coming up. We had to actually remove them frame by
Right.
frame.
Oh,
Everything. Add on
oh,
the little bit of trees, add on more greenery, because
okay.
everything now is going away.
Right.
There's a lot of
True,
VFX.
true. Of course, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, with all
Yeah.
the building and construction and
Yeah.
things.
The ugly that looked with
Right.
structures sticking out suddenly from somewhere in the frame. So all that had to be removed and
And
colored
we'll
again.
speak about VFX also. If
Absolutely.
if from now to then we all get the
Yeah.
chance of seeing also Brahmastra and
Yeah.
whatever, and
Yeah.
then we'll have
Yeah.
that conversation. I think it's
Awesome.
important. Huh?
Sounds good to me.
Let's do
Thank you
that.
so much.
Thanks a
Thank
million.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you. Thank you,
much.
Sonia.
I'm
Lovely,
giving you a
lovely
big
chatting with you.
hug,
Big
and I'm
hug to you
saying
too.
a biento, which means see you soon. A biento.
Susan. Dakha hobby. In Bengali, it says the
Oh,
same.
that sounds
The
lovely.
same it means.
A big
Milte
hug.
hai. Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Love you.